I came back from holiday in 1972 to my house, and my little friend from round the road, whose name was Andrew Gourlay, he was probably only a year younger than me, but he seemed much younger, and he knocked the door, and I thought, I've just got back from holiday, don't bother me now. And I went, Andrew, I can't. And he said, guess what's on tonight? And I went, what? He went, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD. And I was like, what? What? That's a thing? What is it? What? And it's like, what? When's it? And he said, in an hour's time. I go, ah!
Like an awful lot of Doctor Who fans my age, the only way you could relive these adventures, whether they were the television series or the film, was to hope that they got shown on television and to audio record them. And that's exactly what I did, is that I recorded Doctor Who and the Daleks, and I recorded Doctor Who and the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Where we were lucky with the films, though, is that they had also released a very truncated version of the film on silent Super 8 film. And a friend of mine had the Super 8, and I had the audio soundtrack, so many a Saturday was spent trying to match my audio recordings up to his silent film. And I can remember there were cheers of delight if we ever managed to get these things synced, but it was only ever for like 2 or 3 seconds at a time. But that was what we had instead of VHS or Blu-ray.
I do not understand it. The Daleks were destroyed. I was there. I saw it happen.
I've been a massive Doctor Who fan since I was a child, and one of the things that I became very quickly aware of as a Doctor Who fan is that not only was there new series coming every year from 2005 onwards, but there was a lot in its past as well. And it can feel quite daunting as a new fan to know where to start. I've watched a lot of classic Doctor Who now, but I have never seen the Dalek movies of the 1960s. So I'm about to watch for the very first time Daleks Invasion Earth. Here we go. I loved that opening. I was probably laughing through that beginning scene. I think what a brilliant idea to have a police officer run into the TARDIS thinking it's a genuine police box. Like, so brilliantly obvious. And obviously brilliant Bernard Cribbins. That's one of the things I did know about this film, is that Bernard Cribbins was in it. But very much enjoying that very slapstick opening scene with that guy running up to the... well, not running up to the TARDIS, but going up to the TARDIS, ready to knock on the door, and it just disappears. He falls on the floor. Loved that. And I'm very much more enjoying this control room. It's tidier than the previous one, so the Doctor has clearly had a little tidy up. But yeah, very much enjoying it so far.
The original Dalek story is a real narrative with jeopardy and cliffhangers. And Dalek Invasion of Earth is very different. It's actually more a sort of depiction of a time in which, frankly, let's face it, the Nazis had occupied Britain. And we're now seeing Daleks do that. And it means that in some ways the film has more room to breathe, because now that it doesn't have to be following a story where we go from A to B to C to D, it can just present Earth, London, under a Dalek rule and show that sort of, in that sort of strange feel that we had with many films at the time where we were trying to see that sort of what if we had lost the Second World War. We can explore that now, but we can do that with the Pepper Pots. And I think it does actually give the film a sense that it's not therefore trying to sort of run along, particularly in a very, very fast-paced way, which means that Invasion of Earth on the TV series does seem to go on forever. The first 3 episodes do all the actual storyline that you need, and then we have another 3 until eventually we have the sort of huge MacGuffin of how you defeat them. The movie, rather brilliantly, does those first 3 episodes as well, and then it can end as well.
There's nearly 20 Daleks used in this film, and one of the most interesting things that we found out was that 5 of them were inherited from a theatre production called Curse of the Daleks, and through dogged determination we were able to actually find dents and scratches in the publicity photos from Curse of the Daleks that you can then see on screen in Daleks Invasion Earth. The movie then seems to give these 5 props back to John Gale Productions, and those props are then advertised for sale And those props then seem to end up in the hands of Terry Nation. You see 4 Daleks in Terry Nation's house in a Wicker's World interview, which are seemingly being prepared for his spin-off series called The Daleks. The pilot episode was called The Destroyers. So we discovered this nice continuity that goes from the stage play to the movie and then into Terry Nation's house.
In the same way that Russell T Davies was keen of pulling design elements from the films into the TV series, there are other elements that made it into the revival of Doctor Who on television, and a lot of those do come from the second film. In Aliens of London, the Slitheen spacecraft comes crashing in to Big Ben, and Brian Hitch's design for that ship references the counter-rotating windows from the Dalek saucer, and that was very deliberate. Both Brian and Russell really liked that design feature in the film.
Quite remarkable.
I'm actually quite impressed by the special effects, actually. I don't think it's fair to judge something by today's standards, because obviously things are way more advanced now, but comparing it to TV Doctor Who of the time, I think this is quite impressive, and it does weirdly feel quite modern. I don't know if it felt modern at the time, but it's obviously very colourful compared to TV Doctor Who. I think the effects are very impressive. The Dalek voices, I'm trying to work out what I think of them, because I'm very familiar with the Nick Briggs Dalek voice. I think that's the Daleks I've heard most of in my life. And these are pretty similar, and I know that's the point. It's meant to sound the same. But I would, I think, find it hard to distinguish between the two. And I suppose that's a good thing, because the Daleks are meant to be very sort of uniform and all the same. They don't like anything that's different, so I'm sure the Daleks would be pleased to know that I think they sound like Nick Briggs does now.
The rebel leader has been captured. Excellent!
The voice artists for the Dalek movies were Peter Hawkins and David Graham, who did the voices for the TV series at the time. So they obviously thought, these are the guys to do it. And they dubbed it all in post-production. It's actually quite difficult to tell them apart in the movies, because even though they did have very distinctive styles, they put so much reverb on it, and the effect was so huge that it kind of disguises the difference. You can tell the difference between them in terms of the pitches they use. But so David Graham's voice, someone once said there was something more unpleasantly sinister in the way he did the Dalek voices. And so he had that sort of quality. You hear a bit of ring modulation coming in. This is the ring modulator here.
Where he had that kind of strange into the city protected by this clothing.
Whereas Peter Hawkins was much more sort of straight down the line. He set the tone for the Daleks in the first place. He did the first Dalek voices, and everyone else really followed his example. So he had that sort of,
attention, survivors of London, this is your final warning.
Whereas David Graham was more,
attention, survivors of London, this is your final warning. Leave your hiding places.
It's sort of a nasty threat to it. Interestingly, in the second movie, I think that it's almost like Peter Hawkins turned up late to the recording, like his bus was delayed or something, because the beginning of the movie seems to be almost entirely David Graham, and then Peter Hawkins comes into it more latterly. So like the Commander Dalek, the sort of golden Dalek, I think he was.
The Daleks have no weakness. Nothing can stop us now. These prisoners are to be exterminated.
And sort of reeled that all off in one go. It's great stuff.
Explosive device is now set. Release will be at 20 rels. Explosion will be at 50 rels. Order all Daleks to follow me to spaceship at 40 rels.
One of the great joys of Invasion Earth is Philip Maddock in his first Doctor Who performance, of course. And he's the one, I think, who best typifies in the movie that this is a darker movie. It's more about how evil humans can be and about how complex that society would be with collaborators and black marketeers after a supposed invasion. And he underplays it so beautifully. In this children's adventure film, he is playing somebody who just feels several stages removed from the other characters who are doing the adventure serial stuff. His death is one of my favourite parts of Doctor Who altogether, and it's not for the fact he gets blown up so much in a shed, which is actually strangely comical. It's the fact that he betrays Doctor Who, leads him outside, and then you just have that dawning moment where he realises there's no reason for him to be alive anymore. The movie doesn't need him anymore, and nor do the Daleks. And when he runs back into the hut and the Daleks blow him up, that for me remains the most triumphant moment of the entire movie. Not seeing the Daleks get blown up, because they're comparatively good guys to this man who's exploiting his fellow humans. And Maddock plays that so well. That's a tremendous, joyous thing, seeing Philip Maddock get blown to the sky.
I think the second film is generally regarded as the better of the two, something I actually disagree with. I think the first film is stronger. And it's strange because the first film is ridiculed for its broad comedy, and yet the second film has got even broader comedy sequences, particularly the Roboman feeding sequence. I mean, music, visuals, everything conspire to make that an out-and-out, almost slapstick sequence, which I don't like at all. I think it sits very strangely within a film that's just had people shot down by Daleks and Robomen knifed to death. The film could be very grim, and you have to wonder if it was a deliberate attempt to try and lighten the mood in the middle for something that was giving away competitions as part of the tie-in. You've got a child audience, and suddenly you've got quite a dark film. So I'm just wondering if there must have been a little bit of decision made to add some levity in there.
And what are you going to do with us?
You will be robotized!
The Dalek Invasion of Earth TV series, I think, is very leaden and quite a poor pacing, and all sorts of poor production values, stretching to try and make this extravagant Invasion of Earth story work. And that's where Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD succeeds, because it makes the stuff that should have been insanely exciting really exciting, with lots of quick cutting. And I just love the bit where he puts the thing through the window to smash the windscreen that had shattered. It's a fantastic sequence.
I think that fans who haven't seen these films, either through just not knowing about them or maybe they've been deliberately avoiding them, I think they should definitely give them a go, because they are Doctor Who. I mean, the lead character is called Doctor Who. You can't get more Doctor Who than that. It's got Daleks in it. In terms of whether or not this is canon, I don't think it matters. If you enjoy watching it, then great. And if you haven't seen it, go and watch it.
Whether or not there should have been a third Doctor Who film, I don't know. I'm quite happy that there are just two. I mean, what would they have done? The Chase? That would have been a bit... If that was the next TV script they could have adapted, and I don't think it's a particularly strong script. It doesn't have a strong narrative, really.
I would have loved it if they kept making these movies. It would have been great if there was a third film. I imagine they could have adapted The Chase, and it would have looked absolutely spectacular with large numbers of mechanoids roaming around for the final act.
It's tempting to imagine that they could have done The Chase or bits of Master Plan, because one of the things that you can see happening in the second movie is they're not needing to rely so much upon the beats of the storytelling of the TV serial. And The Chase and Master Plan feel like jazz anyway. I mean, it's just people riffing. So the idea actually of saying, let's have a story in which the Daleks chase the Doctor through time and space, but what can we, on the Shepperton set, do? That we don't have to go to the planet Iridius, we could go to any planet that we choose to go to. I could see The Chase actually being a really good, fun, comical, and also quite dramatic way in which they could have showed off the Doctor Who in a number of different settings that the TV series simply could never have done. It feels to me it's sometimes like a bit of a missed opportunity, really, that this is actually where we could finally have got that Doctor Who movie that feels like it's a proper movie without being enslaved to the television series before it.